Breaking news, one of Donald Trump's closest White House aides is expected to testify in his hush money trial. Hope Hicks was by Trump's side as his 2016 campaign press secretary during the final weeks of the election when he was trying to keep his alleged affairs off the front pages. She testified before the grand jury in March of 2023, and a source with direct knowledge of the situation now tells NBC News she will take the stand once again.
I have a theory. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's just my theory. Feel free to move on and watch something else if you don't want to go hear the details. But there was a time when it wasn't Alina Yabba-Dabba-Doo who was left, right and centre around Trump. It wasn't Kellyanne Conway. It wasn't Kayleigh McEnany. And it definitely wasn't Melania Trump. It was Hope Hicks. They seem to have a very strange relationship, bearing in mind, apparently, former guy first discovered the talents of Hope Hicks, sorry, that's not being rude, during a Ivanka Trump charity fashion show. Next thing you know, she's in a senior position at the White House. Good for her. My theory is that Trump had some type of, how should we say? I don't know what word you say. Pervy crush, there we go. And she rejected his advances. I think Rob Porter, Cohen, a few other people in the Trump orbit, she was more interested in. And this probably frustrated Trump, and eventually it all went whichever way it did, and she left.
Doesn't put on her own podcast. She is somebody who has kind of gone quietly since leaving the Trump administration, and somebody that nobody in Trump world has ever questioned the loyalty to Donald Trump of. In 2016, he had such a small campaign brass. Corey Lewandowski, Hope Hicks, they were the right hands to Donald Trump. Of course, Corey Lewandowski, he got pushed aside, and you would see new campaign managers come in, new chiefs of staff come in. Who was there for most of that time in the White House? It was Hope Hicks. And it gets to the heart of the question, too. She had potential opportunities to go on the airwaves and tell her own story in a tell-all interview. She has never gone publicly to talk about whether Donald Trump knew that $130,000 was intended to go to Stormy Daniels. That's at the heart of the question. Michael Cohen says that Donald Trump knew that's what he was paying him for. Donald Trump says, I know that I was paying Michael Cohen, but he contends that he didn't know exactly what for. Hope Hicks may be that link and may have that answer.
Clearly, in Hope Hicks's world, something's happened that she's not doing the Kayleigh McEnany, she's not doing the Kellyanne Conway, she's sticking with the truth because she is going to be appearing as a witness in the Stormy Daniels hush money case, which if you're a former guy, you're probably even more worried now, Monday, April the 1st, it's not an April Fool's joke, by the way, than you were maybe a few days ago. Because one thing about Hope Hicks, unlike all of the other press secretaries and various other people in Trump's orbit, she's not spoken until now. She said a few things to the Jan 6 committee, but you can tell 100% on the money. Sound a bit over the top there. She knows where the money is. That's my theory. When I say she knows where the money is, we could say she knows where the bodies are buried, but we're on hush money here. So
she didn't leave as acrimoniously as other people did. At the same time, she didn't share his belief that the election had been stolen. And that, at the time, was headline-making news, that Hope Hicks had essentially said to him, Mr. President, you and I don't see this the same way. And he sort of deprecatingly said to others, well, Hope doesn't believe me.
In Hope Hicks's testimony, the president's former aide sat down with the committee for more than 7 hours, but White House lawyers blocked Hicks's answers of 155 questions during her time at the White House, including something as benign as where her office was located in the White House. But in a new interview with Politico, Chairman Nadler says those executive privilege assertions, quote, played into our hands as a gift in their legal battle with the White House. Joining me now is Democrat and Congressman from Tennessee, Steve Cohen. He's a member of the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, always good to see you, my friend. And as I look at this, I see in this transcript, you've got a good 7 or 8 pages of Q&A back and forth there. I've looked through a lot of this transcript, and the White House attorneys objected or would object to at least 170 different things, something that Nadler has called a gift for your committee. Legally, explain that thinking, and will your committee then head to court to try to compel her testimony?
Well, we will, and I think Chairman Nadler's finding a silver lining in what was otherwise a bucket of manure. There's the hope that we'll go into court. They objected to everything, and we can show that their blanket immunity or absolute immunity is a bad theory. that it should be limited extremely and maybe even not allowed, and that she went to speak to Mueller and his subordinates as part of the Mueller report, and I believe she waived her immunity there. And so it's hard to waive it and then get it back. It's something once it's given, you don't get it back.
Evidence of fraud on a scale that would have impacted the outcome of the election. And I was becoming increasingly concerned that we were damaging his legacy.
Say in response to what you just described.
He said something along the lines of, nobody will care about my legacy if I lose. So that won't matter. The only thing that matters is winning.
All right, so let's put some perspective and context on this with our team of veterans from the Watergate era, the legendary journalists Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, and the former Nixon White House counsel, John Dean. John, she said all he cared about was winning, and if he didn't win, he'd have no legacy. Of course, now he does have a legacy. So what stands out to you the most from what she said and what we've learned today?
Well, what she said is that he's going to have the wrong legacy. Have the legacy of a loser, and that's not a legacy he can handle.
She knows something that former guy right now is probably a bit peeved about. Now, does he do the normal thing? I'd say he hardly knows her. Don't think that's going to work. He'll probably run her down, but he can't say she wasn't close to what was going on. And he can't put in a phone call and start berating her through back channels. So I would say right now, your move, Mr. Diaper Don.
Look, that was a tough day for her.
Yeah,
she had to meet with counsel for about 20 minutes after she gave the white lies thing.
That's right.
And people have to understand, it's one thing when you're talking to us, as scrutinizing as you can be. But when I'm holding the power to punish you, in a way, for what you say, those are hard moments. Those are hard moments for someone who's new to this.
That's right.
This is, Hope Hicks had a very elevated position with Trump, and her loyalty to him helped garner that. But this is not a battle-tested person who knows how to weather storms.
Very few people know how to weather this kind of storm. If you think about how many White Houses we have seen go through this kind of thing, the only, again, of the spectacle nature of it with the legal underlay, the Clinton White House is the only one that I can think of with respect to something this big that had proximity to the president. I don't think that was an easy day for her based on everything that I have heard, but that does not mean that was the reason that it happened yesterday. Again, I realize I'm saying you're going to have to trust me on it, but it really is not why it happened. Only she can know if there was some final straw, but the final straw was not that hearing.
Okay.
You would have thought they would have learned some type of lesson in how they treated Michael Cohen. My late mother used to say to me, revenge is a dish of custard served cold. English expression. But obviously, they really haven't learned nothing. Michael Cohen, every time he speaks, there's kernels, there's roots of truth in what he's saying.
I mean, as Christy just very articulately outlined, we're at a point where the judge said, no more of this. He set a trial date. But we've been so focused, Michael, on the kind of delays here and the timing. We lose focus sometimes on what this case is really about. You were a key witness here. For people that might have forgotten, tell us what this case is really about. And what is the jury going to hear from you when the time finally comes?
Well, yeah, those are all questions that I'm pretty sure that the Manhattan District Attorney prosecutors would prefer that I not get into. So I would definitely like to kick that one off to Christy. But if I can say something about what she just said, which is accurate, the Manhattan District Attorney asked for these records from the Southern District of New York over 1 year ago. And what they received from the Southern District of New York, they turned over to the prosecutors. So I understand why Judge Merchan acted the way that he did as it related to Todd Blanche, and it was rightfully so. Another issue is, if you notice, what Todd Blanche and the entire Trump team are so persistent at is trying to attack me, my credibility, to try to figure out a way how to impugn, again, my reputation for the sole purpose of either delaying this trial further or having it knocked off the calendar altogether, which is just, wishful thinking.
Well, you're not going to give us a preview of your testimony. You do know what this trial is about. So let me ask you something different. I mean, you said, as you just alluded to, the judge last week basically rejected Trump's motion seeking to bar your testimony from the upcoming trial. They tried to do that. What should Trump fear most about April 15th? I mean, this trial date is set. What should he be worried about?
Yeah, he should be worried about me. He should be worried about the Manhattan District Attorney, the District Attorney of New York prosecutors. He should be worried about the documentary evidence. He should be worried about all of the witnesses that are going to be coming in to that trial, simply because, as others have also appropriately put it, this is a very simple case. This is a case based upon documentary evidence and corroborating testimony. You know, these documents don't lie, and they paint a very specific picture, one which, of course, does not inure to the benefit of Donald Trump.